We begin a new book, third book of Vayikra, Leviticus, and starting Parshas Vayikra, first of Nisan. Auspicious day to start. Okay, Vayikra, and he called. Who called? God called. El Moshe to Moshe, Vayidaber, and he spoke. Hashem, Elav to him. You can let in David up, please. Oyel Mayid from the tent of meeting, Lamor saying. Okay. Oh, what's going on? Letting in.
No, she's joining, but
Okay.
come through.
All right. So, Vayikra l'chol dibros l'chol amiros l'chol tzivuim kadma kriya. So whenever the word Vayikra, which means a calling, to be called out, right, preceding a statement, and every saying and every commandment, Lashon Chiba, it's a language of affection. God is showing affection to Moshe. Lashon shemalachi asharetz mishamshim boy. It's a language that the ministering angels they use. Vikara ze el ze va'amar, that they called each other. Right? We just said it in Kedusha. That they called each other, and then they called out to God, holy, holy. Aval neviya umas ha'elam, but the prophets of the nations of the world, nigla aleim b'lashon arai betuma. God reveals with them in a language of that's transitory, not permanent in others, and impure. V'yikar Elokim el Bilam, and God happened upon Bilam. Okay, interesting. Okay, next. Vayikra el Moshe, and he called to Moshe. The voice would go and reach his ears. And the rest of the Israelites, they did not hear it. One might be able to think that this calling is at breaks as well. In other words, when there's we just learned in Rambam, right? Psucha and stuma, right? When there's an opening blank space in the Torah, right, to the end of the line, the text resumes on the next line, or a stuma where there's, 9-letter space, a blank space in between, right? So one might think that at a break indicates the beginning of a new distinct prophecy, which would be called by a calling, right? So you might think that. Haisa kriya, Talmud Laimar, Vayidaber, but the verse says Vayidaber right afterwards. Ledibur Haisa kriya. In other words, for speaking, in other words, where God spoke to Moshe explicitly, there was a kriya, there was a calling. V'lo la'afsaka is not for the breaks. Mahayu afsaka, so therefore, then why is there space in the Torah? What was the purpose of those breaks? That to give Moshe time to contemplate. Being parsha between one section and another, or being lenient between one topic and another topic. All the more so time for contemplation on the subjects of Torah that an ordinary person who learns from an ordinary person, they need to take. Interesting. Elav, to him. Right, Vaydaber, he spoke Elav to him. What does it mean to him? So what does that mean? If the call was to him, wasn't the speaking to him? Rashi says, Lamai Tzarin, to exclude Ari. Rabbi Yehuda ben Basra Imer, that's what the Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Basera, says. Sholosh Esrei Dibreis Nemra B'Torah LaMoshe V'Lare. There are 13 statements in the Torah that were both said to Moshe and Aaron. Kenegdam Nemra Shlosh Esrei Miyutim, and corresponding to the 13, to them is 13 exclusions. In other words, to teach us that they were not said to Aaron. It teaches that the 13 statements. Right? In other words, it seems like it was said to Aaron, but really it's an exclusion. It was not said to Aaron, it was only said to Moshe. Moshe only to Aaron, with the intention that it should be said over to Aaron. The 13 exclusions are as follows. Ladaber itai, to speak with him. Medaber elav, communicating with him. Yidaber elav, what? I don't know what's going on over here, why Rashi's doing all this. Right? Medaber elav, communicating with him. Medaber elav, that it spoke to him. Naidaiti l'cha, and I arranged an audience with you. Kulam b'Teres Kahanim, all of them are in the third book here of Vayikra, Teres Kahanim. Yachal Yishmu is called Lamed Dibor. So one might be able to think that the Jewish people could hear the sound of the speech. Talmud Leimar, Kel Loi Kel Elav. The voice was to him and only to him and no one else. Moshe Shemea, Moshe would hear, Holy Israel Lo Yishamu, and the rest of the Israelites did not hear. Hmm?
Sorry, I should have kept it to myself.
Okay, Me'oyhal Mayed. So God spoke to him from the Oyal Mayed, the tent of meeting. Malamed, this teaches us that the voice be cut off, would not go outside the tent. You might think because it was a low voice, so that's why it could not be heard outside. I don't know what's going on over here. If the Jewish people didn't hear anyways, so this is the reason why it couldn't be heard. Talmud Leimer, it's a kill, but it says the voice, not a voice, but the voice. Mahu akil. What is the voice? Well, Tehillim. That's the voice that is explicitly described in Tehillim, Psalms. Kel Hashem b'kayel, kel Hashem b'hadar kel. Hashem sheba arazim. The power of this is the voice of God's powerfulness. The voice of Hashem's is majestic. The voice of Hashem breaks cedars. Im Kain. If that's the case, so then why does it say from the tent of meeting? It teaches that the voice would be cut off when it reached the walls of the tent. It would not be heard outside the tent. But is this how it was not heard?
Yeah.
No, because Rashi already said that it wasn't heard by the people, it was only heard by Moshe.
It stopped at the town again.
Is that the reason? Or the reason was because God's voice was only made privy to, it's like, it's like, dogs here have a better sense of hearing than we do, and they hear something that we don't hear. So as a Moshe has, hears God's voice and we don't, but it's the way it's being said over here. That's the way I understood previously. But the way it's suggesting now is that it could have been heard if you were there in the Oyal Mayed, but only Moshe was in the Oyal Mayed in the tent. So he only heard it. Okay, anyway, that's what it seems.
It says miraculously.
The kol kanfei akruvim nishva ad chatzer achitzayna, and there sounds similar. There's a similar idea over here. The sounds of the wings of the keruvim was heard in the outer courtyard. Yochel mipnei shakol namuch. I think because it was a low voice. It's like the sound of Kale Shakai. What does it say to the outer, up to the outer corner? Same thing there. It was also cut off once it hit the end of the courtyard. Okay, Me'ayal Moyed Lamor, from the tent of meeting, saying, Yacham Nikol Abayis, one might be able to think that the voice came from the entire house. meaning from the entire Mishkan. Talmud Leimar, Mi'ala Pareiches, but it tells us that it came from the covering of the ark. Yochel Mi'ala Pareiches Kula. You might think the voice came from the entire covering of the kapiris of the ark. Talmud Leimar, Mi ben Shnei Akruvim, but it says otherwise later on in Bamidbar that it came between the two Kruvim. Why is Rashi bringing this over here? How's this a question over here? Oh, this difficult to understand what's going on over here. Why is this an issue over here if it only becomes an issue in Bamidbar that it says that the voice came there from one place it says the kapairis, another it says between the two keruvim, and here it says from the Oyel Mayed. But why is that an issue over here when we only have that later? Like it becomes an issue later, the contradiction to this verse. Lamor, last Rashi in this verse, saying, so God is saying to Moshe, go and tell them words of inspiration, of rebuke. Yeah, tell them on their account, God is speaking to me. Now, God's only speaking to me for your benefit, right? Shekem Matzinu. Because the entire 38 years, the Jewish people were in the desert, they were excommunicated. From the story of the spies and onwards, right? God didn't destroy them, but he excommunicated the Jews because they didn't want to go to Israel. And because they were excommunicated, God didn't speak to Moshe for 38 years. We have from in Parshas Chukas, right? The beginning of Chukas is the first 2 years, and then we jump to Miriam's death. Miriam's death is in the last year. All that time in between, there's no storyline about the Jewish people 38 years in the desert, because God didn't speak to Moshe. Why? Because of the Jewish people. Because of the spies. As it says that it came to pass when all the men of war ceased to die, and that's when God spoke to me. Eli Hayadibur, to me was this, God spoke to me, and others he spoke to me then, because that generation had died off.
There was a gap between when he spoke to me before and when he speaks now.
Yeah. Alternative explanation, say go out and tell them my words, and report back to me if they accept what I say. Now God's saying to Moshe, go and tell them, and let me know if they're going to accept. And Moshe reported the words of the people. That was already earlier in Exodus, so I'm not clear what that's got to do over here, why that would be the explanation here. Okay, verse number 2. Yeah. Daber el bnei Israel, speak to the children of Israel, Mamarta aleim, and say to them, Adam, an individual, a man, ki yakriv mikem, when he will offer from himself, korban, Hashem, a sacrifice to God. Mina behema, it should be from animals. Mina bakar, from cattle. Mina tzoin, from sheep. Takrivu, they should come. No, it's over here, but okay. Mina tzoin, from the the flock takrivu, you should bring them, you should offer them as karbanchem, your sacrifice. Rashi. Okay, lots here. Adam ki yakriv mikem. A person when he will bring from you. Kishi yakriv bikarbanchem nadavan dibra inyim. We're speaking about a voluntary gift offering over here, right? Because it's what's the proof? Because it says mikem, from you, meaning your initiative. In other words, it's not an obligation. Adam, why does it say lama nema? Why does it say Adam? Adam arishan lo hikriv min hagezel, just like Adam, the first person, did not offer that which was stolen. Shekol hayeshaloi, because everything belonged to him. Afatem, likewise you. Lo yisakriv min hagezel, don't bring from that which is stolen. It has to belong to you.
Everything belonged to Adam?
Well, he was the only one that lived. He had no one else. No one else lived when he was created.
For the entire world.
Take a coffee. Huh?
Belonged to Adam.
Yeah.
The Abishter. Why does it belong to Adam?
I think there's coffee over there if you want. Rachel, there's coffee in the thing. No?
Why did it say that? No. Everything the Abishter made, he gave over to Adam?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do we see that?
He's created last. It was a shulchan lifneihem, right? It was a shulchan before them, right?
The intent of the whole. Right?
Yeah.
And if
No, very same. When the pasuk says very clear, "V'kif shus haaretz," conquer the land.
Yeah.
It's yours, right? L'sham l'avda, l'sham l'avda, right? Habehema, animals. Yochol afchaya bichlal. One might think that also wild animals are included. Talmud leimar bokar v'tzoyim, but the Torah tells us otherwise. Cattle and flock. In other words, not wild animals. Mina abehema, from the animals, v'loy kula, but not all animals. Lahetzi as hareves and nirba, excluding animals that were active or passively a partner in bestiality. Mina bakar, from the cattle. Mean here means lahetzi is haneb, also to include that which was used for idol worship. Minatzayin, from, meaning from and not all, right? Up here means that which was set aside for pagan worship. It wasn't used, but it was only set aside for pagan worship. And in other words, it's going loizu afsu. Not just this, but this too, right? We're going from more, from more severe to less severe. That's why each time it says mean, from, meaning only some from, not all. Right? Minatzain, from, right? Lahiti is a negeach shemis, a goring animal that killed a person, also cannot be brought as an offering. Whether it was one witness or the owner said so. And when it says below in the next verse, from the cattle, the Torah is not saying over there, lahitzi satreifa. All of them. Right, says a treifa to exclude that which is treif. Meaning a torn animal has a defect, which would then lead it to die. Okay. Next. Hakriva, you shall bring. It's plural, right? It says tak, it should be takriv. You bring singular, but it's takrivu, you bring. That teaches us that two or more who are partners can donate an oila offering. Karbanchem, your offering, malamed shehi ba b'nidvas tzibor, teaches us the oila offering can come as a voluntary contribution from the entire community. He oilas ketzam mizbeach. This is an ola offering of the desert of the Mizbeach altar, Abba Mina Maisrais, which comes from the extra funds.
Dessert. I think dessert.
Hmm?
Dessert, no?
Oh, desserts. I'm sorry, yes. Dessert.
The cream on top. That's sweet.
Ah, when you have a blemished animal and it cannot be brought onto the altar, but it is sanctified, so then it is it's sold, or no, sorry, a certain sin offering or guilt offering that cannot be offered. So it's you wait till there's a blemish on it, then it's sold, and then from the monies that you sell with it, you bring additional. That's the dessert, the additional voluntary offerings that are voluntary offerings that are for the sake of the community. That's it, on top. If a certain offering that cannot be brought because it's disqualified as a sin offering, right? So, but it's not truly disqualified entirely. So you have to wait till a blemish falls upon it, right? And then it's sold. The money that you sell it for, right? Then it becomes not holy anymore. But use that money is money that's the temple treasury. What's it used for? For extra voluntary offerings on behalf of the community. On behalf of the community. Because it's a communal fund. It's a communal fund, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like it's like extra contribution for the community. Okay. Huh? That's the dessert. Yeah, that's how, yeah, exactly. Okay, verse number 3. Okay. Im oila karbanot. If his offering is an oila, an ascent offering, meaning completely consumed on the altar, mina bakar, that comes from, here you see mina bakar again, and Rashi said in the previous one, it doesn't mean over here a treifa, right? So an animal that was mauled and is going to die prematurely. So from cattle, zachar, it's a male, tamim, pure, yakriv, and it should be offered. El pesach oil mayid, yakriv say by the entrance of the tent of meeting, you should bring it. Livret Sinai for his willingness, lifnei Hashem, before God. Okay, so Rashi says zachar, it's a male.
It's complete, no?
Pure, complete, same idea. I mean, pure meaning in the sense of a physical sense, pure, right? That there's no blemish. That's, you're right. Okay, so Rashi in 3, Zohar, he says, male below nekeva, not a female, kishu oimer Zohar lamata. When it says male below, shein talmud loimar, the Torah not say it, but the verse already told us that, right? Zohar below timtum al. So why did the Torah repeat? That tells us it's a male and it cannot be a tumtum or an androgynous. Tamim, perfect. Mum, without blemish. El Pesach el Meyed, you have to bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting. Shemitapel b'havase el ad ha'azara. The owner of the offering tends with it and brings it until the courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash, right? Yakriv. Why does it say 2 times in the verse Yakriv that he should offer? Right? Yakriv. But once it says in the form of Yakriv Venu. So what does it mean? Let's say Reuven is bringing an offering and it got mixed up with Shimon's offering. and you can't determine which animal belongs to whom. So the problem is what you have to bring specifically yours. You can't bring someone else's offering. You have to bring yours. So what do you do? So each one will perform the offering in the name of whoever it's meant to belong to. Similarly, if the Oila offering got mixed up with a not holy offering, so you should sell the not holy one. Should be sold for the need of oil offering. Kulam oilas, and all of them will be brought as an oil offering. Sakriv is called achas, and each one should be offered. L'shem mishahu, whoever that one belongs to. In other words, have in mind for whoever it might belong to. So now you might think that if it got mixed up even with unfit animals, or that which is not of its kind. Yakri then knew that she says otherwise because it says you shall bring it. It that which could be brought. An unfit you cannot bring. Right? In other words, it has to be it from its kind, and that is fit to bring. Yakri Vaisai, bring it. Melamed Shekaif I say. It tells us that we force him to bring it. We want my thing against his will. You bring it. But then it says, in accordance with his will. Okay, so it's contradiction. Is it against his will or with his will? How so? So you force him until it says, I'm willing to bring it. I'm not clear on this because I thought this was a free will offering. If you said, I'm going to bring this offering, and then you decided, I'm not going to. But it's been sanctified, right? This animal has been sanctified. So now you're forced to bring it, right? So the court of law will force you until you can say, okay, I'm going to bring it.
And so Indian givers not allowed.
Right. Okay. Last Rashi in this verse, Lifnei Hashem Samach, which is coming to the next verse. Before Hashem would be put his hand in Bama, there's no leaning upon the hands upon an offering at the Bama. And as it has to be before Hashem. A Bama means an altar that's not by with the holy temple. Okay, I'd love to continue doing Chumash and Rashi, but we have Tanya now. Yeah. Yeah. We'll be here. You'll be here beyond noon.